Oh my goodness, friends, what's going on? This is one of those days where we have to ask ourselves, is this stuff legal, what we're doing? And it certainly is. Let's talk about Big Bear. Let's go right into it. I don't want to talk about anything else really. We'll talk about Soundhound, obviously, but I think right now, Big Bear, huge day. So let's break down into it. I hope you're doing well. I really do mean that. I hope everyone's having a good time, fantastic time, making money in the market, at least figuring out what's going on in this market. But let's talk about Big Bear. Let's talk about Soundhound, them versing each other. Which one do you like better? Which one do you not like better? I've heard a lot of different things, but Big Bear here. So yesterday, I said I made the comment. Are we up? Are we in a setup right now? Essentially, because yesterday Big Bear, later in the day, it really pushed up and it ended the day in the green, and even after hours it was pushing up in the 780 range. So it was like, okay, obviously this thing is wanting to really run even after hours. So we were seeing that. And then today, I mean, before market even opened, we were seeing a little push. And then once the market opened up, this thing shot up. I mean, this thing squeezed to $8.68, and it stayed pretty high there for a moment. It went to $8.50 for a moment, and we were like, okay, is this it? And then it went to the 68 cent zone. So, check mark. Now we have hit 860. So let's backtrack here. 3 weeks ago at this point, okay, and this started the week I was at the beach, essentially, of course, because I'm at the beach with my family and I've got the wife and the kids. Like, you coming to the beach? I'm like, I can't go right now. So Big Bear 3 weeks ago is like, we started going into $4, and we're like, okay, we're in $4 range now. This is good. We're starting on this new staircase. We hit 480. Okay, then we go into $5. So 3 weeks ago we ended at $5 and some change. Okay, week two here we went from $5 to high six, busted into seven for a moment, and then back into six. Now last week we had a great week coming out of six, going heavy in the $7 range. Then at the end of the week, busted into $8 here at an 8.19 range. And of course, that was on Thursday because the market was closed Friday for 4th of July. Now this week, we have entered into 8.68. So we're in this $8 position right now. So what I'm trying to say is, why I say all that to say is this. This is what's been happening. Big Bear's been building these staircases, and I don't know when these staircases are going to end. This is probably going to continue here for a moment, because why? Well, one reason too is because there's still a lot of hype and unknown around Big Bear. The bill passed, the defense bill, essentially, that Trump's bill, but there's a huge defense part in that. A lot of people think that Big Bear will continue to get these defense deals. It's very possible. 100%. And the great thing about that is that Big Bear's already gotten so many defense deals. Anything even at this point would just be, icing on top of the cake at this point, because, the cake's been built. Now we're just like, what else, what other toppings can we put on it here? So we already have Big Bear getting into this position of compounding these quarterlies coming up. They're going to be better. We're hoping they at least, hit expectation. But two, with that is that, Big Bear is doing this thing where within a 2 to 3 day range, it's tapping into a new price range, falling down a little bit, selling off, teeter-tottering around the old new high. We ended today at $7 in the 60 range. It's even after hours, it's still playing around here in this $7.60 range. But still, I mean, last week, this time last week, that was like, whoa, that was a high number. Okay, so now today we've done it again. We have hit this new position. So it's only Tuesday. Okay, so probably tomorrow I'm expecting I think the safe and smart thing to say here is that Big Bear will sell down a little bit, that we will, the dust will settle here a little bit and we'll see where it lands here. But obviously, the new ballpark of where we're at right now is around this 750 to 860 zone. And that's great. And, I don't know how I hit that on the head so well, but I did. But this is kind of where we're at right now. So this is the new ballpark. It's a heavy ballpark. That's a dollar position. So I mean, if you're having 10 shares to 1,000 shares of Big Bear, especially if you're holding 500 to 800 to 1,000 shares, that's heavy movement in there. You're talking $20, $30, a share per $30 a share per price in movement. Every time that moves there, it's a heavy gain for every penny up here. So with that, we're seeing Big Bear really discontinue to do what it's doing. This is the third week. It's very interesting if this is going to happen. And what I meant to say was a moment ago is that we're going into quarterlies. So at the end of July here, we're expected to see Q2 for Big Bear. Now, will they execute the quarterlies here? I honestly, and I'm going to be plumb honest with you, and I don't say this to be mean towards Big Bear. I think if you know at this point, I'm very bullish on Big Bear long term, but short term, I still think there's work to be done. I still think we're watching a company. We are in the middle of a construction zone right now with Big Bear. I mean, they are revamping, rebuilding this company. There's something going on here, and that's why it's grabbing a lot of people's attention. We're early investors. We're early investors. It's choppy waters. It's unknowns, but we're here, and so far we're doing pretty good. So, will they beat this quarterly? I don't know. I really don't know. But they should do well. That's one thing that I am confident about, that they will at least do better than Q2 of 2024. We've already seen that progression. So if they beat this quarterly, that would be wild. I'm not expecting them to have a Palantir quarterly where it's 30, 40, 50% top on what the last quarterly was. Beat it by expectation. I'm not expecting that whatsoever. That is not the situation right now. That's not what's going on here. Like I said, this is a construction zone. We're watching a company really rebuild and brand itself right now. And Big Bear has found itself in a situation where everything has hit the market at this particular time with investors. Investors really honing in on security, AI, defense. Tech in general is highly sought after right now with a lot of investors, from big, small, and large investors. So friends, like I said tomorrow, I'm curious to see what Big Bear is going to do. This is essentially what happened last week. That's what's really interesting. And then, we had essentially last Wednesday was just kind of this lull. We were just hanging around. Nothing really crazy was happening. I think there was push in the morning, but that was really about it. And then Thursday came in pretty big for a split of a second, and then the rest of the day was kind of just lingering. But that was a different week, and that was before Trump's bill passed too. So that was a lot of unknown in the market at that moment. With this conversation right now, all in all, today was a win. It was a win. It was more confirmation that we are on to something here with Big Bear, and people are making positions. As these staircases keep going up at this slow pace that they are, because right now this is being chipped away week by week at this point, which is great. I would prefer this. I don't like when things squeeze into from $5 to $15 in 1 week. I don't like that. And I don't like that because it's a Jenga set. It just falls apart. That's what happened with Big Bear last time. It's just, squeezes are fun. Squeezes are good. But most people, when they're involved in something like that, they don't sell and they don't realize oh, this is just a moment. People think it's going to keep going. In those moments, if you ever catch yourself in one of those moments, if something goes from $5 to $15 on really just FOMO, sell it and take your reward and come back. Let the dust settle. This situation with Big Bear right now is a lot healthier, I would argue, where this is taking a short amount of time, but a fast time all in all too. I think this is happening. There's an argument for both parties here where it's probably not happening fast enough for some people because we're investors, we're impatient, we want things to happen right then and there. But it's taking its time. This is good. This is good pacing where we're just seeing these huge staircases be built. So I'm fully expecting tomorrow to be a lingering day where, we'll probably break back into a low $8 zone and then trickle back down and find the new dip right now. And somewhere in that dip is going to be between 860 and 850, which is great. I mean, which is great. So $10, is very possible. This week's a little different because we've got a full week in the market. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here this week in the market. So we've still got we've still got 3 days in the market here, with a lot of news. And two, on top of that, the reports that are coming out, unemployment reports are coming out this week. Some inflation reports are coming out Friday at the end of this week, and we're not expecting those to be bad. So the market could really continue to push a little bit this week. So Big Bear could get caught up in another little push this week easily. But like I said, I think it's going to take time. I think the cannon is being loaded back up here. So friends, what more can I say? I'm riding this boat with you. I am sitting here at awe with you. It's a fun journey. I think a lot of us if you know me, been listening to me talk, I have positions of Big Bear, some that I'm holding for long term, and then one particularly that I'm compounding. I'm selling the high, buying the low, selling the high, and I'll be completely honest with you, transparent, I think is the word they say. But today with Big Bear, I had a position today with Big Bear. I think that this one account I had like 900 shares at $7.45, and then today I sold it at $8.51, and I kind of thought that was going to be it. I thought that was going to be the low, and then it went to that 68-cent zone. That's a good day. That's a good day. And then I let it just burn out. I just what I did, I just let it burn out. I said, that is it. I'm going to walk away. And sometimes you just got to close your phone, walk away. Don't let the FOMO take over you. Just take the money and run. Come back, because there's going to be a push up, open market. There's going to be a sell off, and then later in the day, there's usually a little more push, but it's not going to be usually as good unless something transpires in the market. But when Big Bear fell, I bought back in today too with that position. I bought back in. I bought back in at $7.77 with a bunch more shares. So that's that play around position right there. So why I say all that is to tell you that is a position that I'm compounding. I'm just compounding that position. Okay, I'm taking that money and I'm putting it right back in. Just piece by piece, just building the sandwich out right there. I don't like to talk about money and stuff like that, and I don't like to do that. You don't hear me talk about it a lot, and a lot of people get upset that I don't. I don't like to do it because I don't want to make people feel weird or anything. Whether you have $5 or $10, still, man, you're a part of this. Don't feel like, man, I've only got like $20. What am I doing here, dude? I started with $10. I started with $20, $10. I think I started an account with $5, and I think I lost it the first week because I did something stupid. But don't feel like you can't be a part of this. Trust me, you can be a part of this. This in any of these stocks that I talk about, but feel apart what's going on. So that's kind of why I don't talk about money and what I'm doing personally a lot of the time, because I just don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable with that, because I know what it's like. There's channels out there that are with people that are amazing, but they're making huge plays. I mean, when you turn on someone's YouTube channel, they're like, yeah, I just spent $50,000 on X of this, and you're like, 50,000? I don't have $50,000 to spend on this. And then they're like, yeah, then I took another 20,000, I put it, and you're like, good God. There's a lot of people that do that are great, and I love some of those people, but I get where that's like, it just makes you like feel like it just pops your balloon real fast. So I know what that's like. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have said all that, but anyway, that's that. So let's move into SoundHound. Just to wrap up Big Bear, we'll see what happens. It's still so early in the week. It was only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday, and we've had this happen. So let's watch what happens here. I'm expecting some sell-off. I'm expecting Big Bear to kind of find new position right now, new place. We had a whole new staircase be built today. Whole new staircase. This is amazing. Listen, this may continue until the quarterly. We may just every week. And by quarterlies, we may be in this $12 position. Mathematically, time-wise, we're going to be if this continues, we're going to be somewhere in the $11 to $12 range by the end of the month, if this continues going into quarterlies. Now, I fully expect if they do not meet quarterlies, which I'm highly suspicious they may not be quarterlies yet. Yet, I say yet. Um, we may see Big Bear trickle back down to like a $6 to $8 position, depending how high we can get here. But long term, I'm still feeling good. Short term, this is a fun little thing to play around with. We'll see what happens here. And two, I say all that, I could look like a real big fool here because Big Bear could just get another deal here. They could just, what we've been gossiping about here and thinking and giggling about here. Maybe they will get a big government contract, another one, like a huge one. Imagine that if we just woke up tomorrow and Big Bear receives government contract, X amount of money for X amount of years. It'd be amazing. It'd be something just crazy. All right, SoundHound. So talking about SoundHound, if you've heard me talk about SoundHound, I was talking about this. I was talking about SoundHound February of last year when it was $1 stock, and I was like, I would pay attention to what's going on here, and and I don't say look at me. I just say that because I've grown with this stock, and it's weird when you find a stock that no one's talking about, that no one's looking at. It's cheap. It's an underdog. And for me, having a YouTube channel, when I decide to go public and talk about something like SoundHound or even Big Bear, majority of the public that's going to watch that video is be like, you fool, why are you talking about this company's in debt, they don't have money, blah blah blah. And SoundHound was one of those companies, but the same thing that I saw in SoundHound last year, I'm kind of seeing in Big Bear, so that's why I've been yapping about Big Bear, but talking primarily about SoundHound here. So the history of SoundHound, the last year and a half here, what we've been looking at is that 2024 was amazing year for SoundHound. I mean, they had the two big investments from Nvidia. Nvidia has now pulled out, but still, that was a great situation. It helped SoundHound 100%, gave them money, gave them fame and fortune, essentially. But with that, SoundHound captured deals. They captured a lot of deals in 2024. They revamped the company in 2024. They had the biggest year financially with the company, and we saw that. So now SoundHound finds itself in this situation where I think a lot of investors are going, okay, what's the next step? This year's been and I love SoundHound, so don't think like here's the negative, okay. This is what I think we've seen here, and I think a lot of people may feel this way, but maybe not. Love SoundHound. I think SoundHound's got big things coming, but SoundHound, has been in this new revenue stream, obviously, because last year was so hot. The question now is, can SoundHound keep this new revenue stream? Can they keep this $20 to $30 million revenue stream? And that's not a lot of money, obviously, and that's quarterly, obviously. That's not a lot of money when we talk about AI stocks, but it's a lot of money for them. Now, the thing right now that what you're seeing is Q1 for this year with SoundHound, they missed it. They didn't miss it by much. It was less than $2 million. But it was kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. But saying that, it was better than 2024 Q1. So, we're still off to a good start, okay? But Q2 is going to be very, very telltale of where the finances, the contracts are going. This year so far has not been as hot and heavy with SoundHound when it comes to the amount of deals that it received in 2024. Now, I will say this too, to push back for SoundHound a little bit. A lot of the deals, the bigger deals that came in with SoundHound were later in the year with SoundHound in 2024. So obviously this is a completely different year, different scenario, but history does repeat itself. So who knows? They could still make up some time here. So I think what we're watching right now, investors are deciding where to go. Okay, SoundHound has no problem playing around this $8 to $12 ballpark. We've seen this month by month. Okay. Good, great. Still, a lot of people love SoundHound. I love SoundHound. I mean, it's like my child. I've been watching it here. And that's what I meant. Like you watch these stocks grow up, and too, with having a YouTube channel, like there's stocks that like I start talking about before other channels start talking. Like the bigger channels start talking about it, and then when the bigger channels start talking about it, you're like, well, That's my stock. And so it's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's something very weird. And of course, I want people to know about these great investments, but it's weird when everyone's talking about the thing you found. I don't know. It's really weird. So SoundHound here. I don't know if it's going to hit the quarterly. I'm very curious. I don't think it's going to be a terrible quarterly by any means, but what I meant by that $20 to $30 million revenue position, is SoundHound finding this new revenue stream? Maybe it's got to go down a little more to find the bottom of what the new, stream is. Still, they're going to make more money this year than they did in 2023. I mean, they're still off to a great start. So I think right now, Q2 that's coming here in August is going to be very, very telling of what's going to happen here with the next phase of push for SoundHound. I'm not really expecting SoundHound to push into a $20 position anytime soon unless these quarterlies are phenomenal. I say that all to say that I don't think that because I think a lot of the attention has been taken up by Big Bear, 100%. Because Big Bear has these government contracts, and right now, government deals are probably about to be signed out a lot more. We're probably about to see a lot more companies pick up government deals, and I would not be shocked to see Big Bear continue into that realm too. So, friends, two different companies, two different paths of goals, revenue coming in. Really, when you boil it down, Big Bear is the company that's bringing in more money financially, but SoundHound is a company that's coming off, a winning race. Does that make sense? Big Bear had an amazing year last year, and people are still hyped up. They're psyched about it, and they should be. It's a David and Goliath story of a stock, 100%. But maybe there is a new cowboy in town here. Maybe there's a new cowboy. Maybe there's a new sheriff in town here, and maybe that's Big Bear. Maybe Big Bear is coming in here and saying like, "Hey, I've got the revenue, I've got the deals, I've got the investors, I've got the hype, I've got the push, and I've got people's future planned out here, and we're going to some big numbers." So I think it's very interesting what's going on with both these stocks, 100%. And I'm a fan of both of them. I still. Here's the most negative thing I'll say. Here it is. For the person that is in here just ripping me apart in the comments, this is for you. Yes, there's still very unknown, unsafe investments for your future. If you look at the paper mathematically, when we talk about revenue, debt, all that kind of stuff. There, you happy? I will admit that 100%. But two, I'm a gambler, baby. And I like risk in the market. The biggest pushes I've had in the market they've been gambles. They've been hunches. They've been, doing some detective work. And, I did good. We did good. We did good on SoundHound last year. Okay. Don't forget, a lot of us, even I'm sure a lot of you in here, you were with me when we went from, SoundHound went from $4 to $5 to like $25. That was a big push, baby. That was a big day. And now we're going through this whole thing with Big Bear. So, yeah, it's an interesting situation. Friends, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to say this if you're still listening. So there is I have a second channel. It's called Dillon with Money 2. You probably can't even find it, but I'm going to start making videos on that channel on a 24-hour period too. But I'm not going to be talking about things that I talk about on this primary channel. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about on there. Maybe some crypto, but more than not, just stocks that I don't talk about on here. Okay, but I'm trying to get another platform out there in case, God forbid, something were to happen to this one, or just trying to, essentially, there's so many other stocks that people want me to talk about, and I want to talk about, but I do too. Like I know a lot of people come here to hear me talk about these primary stocks, so that's kind of what I want to keep giving you. So friends, take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm really excited. This is fun. It was a good day. It was a good day. Congratulations to everybody that had a really good day in the market. It's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling. Bye, everyone.